Hey guys, you're listening to the Couplings Fire Podcast.
Here's a couple of things you might need to know, or maybe you just forgot.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Taylor.
We are married.
And we're both firefighters.
Join us as we talk anything and everything fire related.
We don't claim to be experts. We're just two people who love to talk fire. And everything we say are our own opinions.
Our goal is to inspire anyone listening to take the steps to better their department, however they can.
Let's get on to the episode. You ready yet?
Almost.
Okay.
Yep, nothing new. Okay. Sorry, I haven't got to scroll for a little while.
You're fine, I guess.
Scrolling. Keep those fingers scrolling. I don't know.
Eyes and fingers scrolling. Facebook.
So firefighters are more active on Instagram than on Facebook?
Well, from what I've seen right now, definitely the pages that I've been following and the people I've been following are definitely way more active on Instagram. And maybe it's a thing to do with the fact of the Instagram stories. People are utilizing those more, just because they're a way for you to put up stuff that don't. You can keep it for later if you want to too, but they don't last very long. You can put more either stupid stuff or just quick thoughts or whatever up there, you know, they don't stay on your wall, and so, like, it's a lot more freedom to put stuff up that doesn't stay.
It's just a lot more, like, pictures and simple stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, so Instagram is, like, just a whole, it's based off of photos. It's a photo sharing site. Well, app, not really site. It's a site, but you can't use it on the web.
So it's all just based off of pictures and very simple statements.
Overall, but people, like, will share a picture and then they'll have, like, a whole big thing from it. You know, they'll write, like, a huge big post about it or whatnot, and, like, you can talk back and forth in the comments and send messages back and forth, and then I don't really understand, I think the Reels are just, like, a video section where you can put longer videos up and stuff, so they've started to do more with that, but that's basically kind of what that platform is. So, just here recently, just with our podcast account on Instagram, I've noticed, because I'm keeping track of a bunch of fire stuff on our podcast one, and it just seems way more active than Facebook is. When it comes to the conversations you have on people's pages or whatnot. But at the same time, it's not like you have groups on Instagram like you do on Facebook. On Facebook, you can have groups like Engine Company Resurrection and other stuff, and there's tons of comments and a conversation happening there. It's a different type of conversation on Instagram. It's more personal? No, maybe
on
not.
Instagram?
No, maybe not. I don't know.
So is Facebook just a more complex version of Instagram?
Well, Facebook came first.
Right. I do know that.
Okay. Basically, yeah. Facebook, it is a lot more complex. There's a lot more ways you can work around it and get little groups of people together and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like Facebook would be more personal than Instagram would be.
Yeah. I mean, it depends.
You think Instagram's just more popular because it's easier?
Maybe. It's also just the way people work a lot easier. It's easier, especially for the younger generation, just the scrolling and stuff and quick sharing and just...
It's easy to take a picture and put it up there. I don't know. I guess I don't do it. You think that works with the firefighter's lifestyle?
Maybe.
Quick, take a picture. Put it on Instagram.
Well, yeah, it's something that's super quick. You know, the whole point of Instagram is that it's instantaneous. It's, you know...
Instant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I've been trying to be active on Instagram. It's a different app for me. I had it for my business site anyways, but I'm not super used to it yet. I'm getting more used to it the more I'm using it with our podcast.
I have Instagram.
Technically.
On the tablet. But I don't know anything about it.
You can put it on your phone.
Well, yeah, but I'd have to know, like, my login and all that kind of stuff.
It remembers it. Oh, like, okay, I see what you
mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And I got that probably like a year and a half ago to try to find more firefighter training stuff. And I haven't looked at it since.
Yeah, because that's actually where I found out about Clubhouse. It was from Instagram. So Clubhouse, hi everybody, first of all.
Yeah, you're listening in on my wife's trying to educate me on social media. I have Facebook. That's about it.
He has Facebook. Right now, I'm the one who's running most of our social media. All of it.
Yeah, all of it.
I hope to get you caught up to speed, though, because I want people to interact with you, too. I interact for both of us pretty well, though, sometimes. And then when it's stuff that is, like, very specifically my opinion or something that I think or whatever, I will sign it as Taylor. But, anyways.
Yeah, it's beyond me.
Okay, so Instagram is... Oh.
I'm, like, 30 and grew up in the generation of, like, Facebook and all this stuff, and I'm not in it at all.
Yeah, I'm very much in Facebook. Instagram is very different, though, but I'm trying to get used to it.
I feel like you're way good at Instagram, but that's just me.
You don't even know. You're not even on Instagram. I don't know.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you were
Facebook
saying.
just makes more sense to the way my brain works. So I'm trying to get a handle on Instagram.
Yeah, I don't even know my tag name. Is it a tag name? Profile name? Profile?
Your
Account name? My hashtag?
your hashtag.
My pound sign?
No, it's an at, by the way. Well, like that's like we put
whatever.
at before, not a pound sign. Pound signs for hashtags.
Well, what is that? Is that Instagram? You hashtag something, isn't that Instagram? Don't all your hashtags go to Instagram?
Yeah, all the so the hashtag actually originated in Instagram.
That's what I thought.
And then it went over to Twitter somehow. I don't know, but
Oh, now it's Twitter?
well, like it got borrowed, not really borrowed, but like people use it in Twitter now too, and then people also use it on Facebook. But it originated in Instagram because you put hashtags at the end of your post, and then you're able to. So like I can put like whatever I post, and I put any related hashtags beneath of it. So I can be like hashtag firefighter, hashtag fire training, hashtag volunteer firefighter, hashtag rural firefighter, hashtag rural Nebraska, hashtag Nebraska. You can put all these things in. The reason you do that is that when somebody goes and searches for Instagram, the way they find new things and new people or whatever to follow is that they can actually search through hashtags. So if I want to look up more stuff on rural firefighters, I might type in to the search rural firefighting. I might put rural firefighter. I might put rural fire department. So whatever's tagged with whichever one I put in, it's going to get me to find other posts, and then I can either follow people or just follow that hashtag alone, and anytime anyone uses that hashtag, it'll come up on my feed instead of following the actual person. So that's how you find new things on Instagram, is by following those hashtags or by following somebody that somebody else has tagged or something. But like the hashtag is like a big deal on Instagram because that's how you categorize things and that's how you find things.
Haven't people ever heard of a search engine?
It's basically what it is. And then when you post, you're creating your own search engine. So some people have 1 or 2 hashtags. Some people do like 100. So,
Hashtag.
Yeah. For my business page, for my sports photography page, I probably have about 10 hashtags I usually put on there. Just because you don't know what people are going to type. So I put sports photographer and I put sports photography. Then I put Nebraska sports photographer and Nebraska sports photography. Because you don't know what people are going to search. And the search button, the search section, it's not going to bring up sports photographer if you only look up sports photography. So.
Messed up.
Yeah. But it's basically a search engine within Instagram. And then people can just put in whatever they want to have it come up with.
Interesting.
Yeah. So basic rundown on Instagram for you. So then today I was able to get an invite to Clubhouse from Brian Soller from the Professional Brotherhood podcast and blog. And he's a volunteer fire chief. And his big thing is just, creating a professional volunteer fire service for the fire service. So anyway, so he was able to give me one of the invites because you have to have an invite to join at the moment. So I jumped on there for a little bit today, and National Fire Radio was having a clubhouse chat, a club chat. I don't know, I'm learning all about this, and it was pretty dang awesome because it's such an easy way for people to talk to each other and jump on, and, people do Facebook Lives and stuff, but, like, this is on a different level of the fact of, it's, at least so far, it's usually not that big when you have people listening, so you can have good, deep, in-depth conversations. And then it's really easy to grab people from listening in the audience to then, if you quote-unquote raise your hand in there, you can get brought in to talk if they let you kind of stuff, and you can join in that conversation with them or say what you want to say. I don't know, it's just kind of cool and different. I'm kind of excited to check into it some more, so that was fun.
Way over my head.
Okay.
Hashtag lost.
I'm proud of you. You used that correctly.
See, I can learn. We should have had that conversation before we do a social media podcast.
Oh, that would have been great. We can change tactics if you want.
No, it's all right. I'm sure, yeah, I don't know.
We will get into social media someday. I know it's pretty far into the episodes now, but...
And you'll really hear me learning about social media then.
I think I'm going to do a couple different episodes on social media. I'll probably start with, like, doing a light version, like, super overview of the different social media platforms that I know of and how to use them to the best of your advantage for your fire department. And then I'll probably go into more in-depth maybe for different ones and get really techie. So that way, if like people really want to listen to that one, they can. If they like, no, I don't need to know about Instagram, they don't have to listen to that one.
There you go.
All right, so have we had enough social media talk for now?
Yeah, for tonight.
I was going to say, we're going to have a long enough episode anyways with this, I'm sure.
They're always long.
No, this one might... I don't know. My guess is this is going to be a long one. Not as long as our second half of our in-house trainings one. That was like 2 hours. This one probably won't be that long, but who knows?
Who knows?
Okay, so overall, hi everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Glad you're here listening to us.
Yeah,
let's move on to actually talking about something
let's
good and worthwhile. I mean,
not waste your time. Instead of hearing her explain Instagram to me, which I still don't understand. Someday. So yeah, so you guys talk to us on Facebook. Hashtag someday.
Oh! I'm so proud of you.
See, I'll get this.
You'll get this.
All right, sorry. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. So, what's our topic for tonight?
We are going to talk about preparing officers in the volunteer fire service and officers/leaders.
Ooh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
In the volunteer fire service. All right, so, honey, preparing officers and leaders in the fire service. So, obviously, as we have found out talking about this beforehand here, we both have a very different take on this subject matter, especially this title, preparing upcoming officers in the volunteer fire service.
Yeah, it actually surprised me that we had different takes on it. I did not expect that. It actually threw me for a loop for a little bit. We actually tried recording the start of this once before.
Twice before. 3 times, maybe.
And we just couldn't agree, and we're like, what is happening? So we had to stop, pause, figure this out really quick. Now we're back. Hopefully.
And now we're back for more.
I think we just decided to agree to disagree. And
I don't think it's so much a disagreement. We just see the different points of view.
Yeah. So we agreed to have different points of view on it, and we're going to kind of talk about both of them with it.
I don't know that we necessarily agreed to have different points of view. We just have different points of view.
Whatever. My goodness. You were just
Well, you make it sound like I have to have the same opinion as you.
You don't have to, but we usually do.
Exactly.
I feel like these people now have been figuring that out lately. We usually have the same opinion.
Usually. But in this case, it's really not an opinion. It's just a different point of view.
Yeah.
You're coming at it from very much a firefighter side of it and what you've seen happen.
Yeah, and what I don't want to see happen again in the future.
When I read this title and didn't talk to you about it at all, I seen it as officer, assistant chief position, looking back down on the firemen.
Yeah.
So you're looking up on the firemen. I'm looking down on the firemen.
Sure, that does not sound good.
Well, yeah, you're looking up from.
I don't want to be looking up the skirts or the
firefighter. You're looking up from the firefighter position. I'm looking down from the officer position.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Don't be looking up any kilts. You won't like what you see. So, okay. So preparing upcoming officers and leaders in the volunteer fire service, from the firefighter perspective, Why is this concerning? Why do you want to fix this?
Well, to me, it's a big deal. You may be voting on your officers to come in, or maybe a chief selects them, however you do it. If you haven't been training or preparing that officer beforehand, that officer is going to be coming out of position with no officer experience, no leadership experience. He's never run a scene before, he or she, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. They have never ran a scene before, and they're expected day one to be able to do it perfectly. Why are they expecting that if they've never had any prior training to this? So it's one of those, like, it's so much stress on the officer in the first place, just having that position, they've never had the experience beforehand. They've never taken control of a scene before. They're used to doing the work. They're not used to commanding the work, which is a whole different point of view. You have to think of so much other stuff. Even if you're leading a team of 2 or 3 on your own as a firefighter, it's very different than running a scene or even running a bigger group of people.
Okay. And from my perspective, that was from the firefighter perspective. From the officer position, which I kind of see things as, I want to say almost naturally, because I've been a training officer, I've been a lieutenant when we had lieutenants, I've been an assistant chief. I think I've been in an officer position more than I've been in just a regular firefighter position.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I think that way. But I see it as, if I read this title, Preparing Upcoming Officers in the Volunteer Fire Service, I see it from an officer's perspective. If I can prepare people to be officers before they're officers, not only do I have leaders of a crew on a fire scene, or leaders just in general on a fire scene, but when those people, if they so choose to get elected or brought up into the officers' rankings, with those skills in mind, they're already a decent officer because we've prepared them beforehand. Mm-hmm. They have that, like you said, that kind of that experience, that mentality of leading people. So they're already a decent officer, which means I have a decent group of officers that work for me. I can make them great officers. It gives me more potential to do more with my officers.
Well, you can find those people who want to be officers who maybe aren't ready for it or don't have all those skills, and try to help them work on those other skills to get them to where they want to be anyways.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, that's why this is important to both of us. Mm-hmm. Different perspective, but overall, the kind of the solution that we're going to talk to you guys about ends up being the same. So even though we have different perspectives on it, and why it's important to both of us, I think the solution for it, not the only solution, but the solution that we have for it, works for both of us, mm-hmm. both our perspectives. So, and I think you said you took a class. Maybe not took a class, but heard a lot about this at Les Lucre, right?
So it was in one of my classes. Brandon Fletcher was talking about it in his Shaping Your Volunteer Fire Department for Today's something.
Fire Service.
Fire Service, thank you. Can't remember the exact name of it. I don't have those notes for that one in front of me right now. But it was the most relatable class I've ever taken for volunteer fire departments, and it was an amazing class. And they talked about it a little bit in there. About just preparing officers in general. So we're going to go over some of those points that Brandon made in that class. And I believe he's actually teaching that class at Fire Engineering this year.
I think so. I think I've seen that, yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys, I don't know when that is. Maybe hopefully it's after this podcast goes out. If not, find another way for him to either come to your department and teach, or go find him somewhere else to hear it, because it's a good class.
Yeah. Super awesome guy, too. Fun to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
But... So yeah, she took part of this class at Les Lucre this last year, but it brought up the question, the fact that we aren't training firefighters to be officers.
Yeah, before they're officers.
Yeah, we're training firefighters to be firefighters,
mm-hmm.
which is fine, but I think, I don't know how your class went because I didn't sit in on it, but I think as your firefighters advance, you can start teaching them those officer aspects, those leader aspects.
Basically, yeah.
So, here's to everyone out there with us that needs improvement on this, and we'll walk you through what we kind of came up with and go from there. So, first step, honey, go for it.
First step, I want to talk about the difference between utilizing the incident commander position and your chain of officers position. Or like just the chain of officer...
chain of command.
Thank you. There's just chain of command on a scene. So I think we need to embrace the incident commander position more. So what I mean by this is if you come on scene, you don't have any officers on the first truck, a firefighter takes over. That's fine. Hopefully they've been trained enough to do it, whatever, right? They know enough, they're taking care of it. If an officer comes on scene in the second truck, I don't believe if the firefighter is handling it the way he needs to be handling it, if it's not that big of a thing, if it's all going smoothly, I think that firefighter should stay the IC and the officer should not take that over. It's a good chance for that firefighter to be able to get in some practice commanding a scene, and get some confidence with it, and it gives a chance for those officers to then see them in action, seeing how they handle a situation. Why not? If they're running it very well, if like I said, nothing's going wrong, let them do it. Same thing. If a captain is running a scene and the chief comes on scene, I don't think the chief should come over and take command right away if the officer is handling it and doing a good job. If it's a small enough scene, granted, things do or can get out of control, and you might need those officers for other things, so you might need to shift that power. But if the captain's doing a good job, don't take the IC from him. Don't give it directly to the chief. From what I've witnessed is that as soon as a senior officer to you comes on, they immediately take command, which I understand to a point, but that's not benefiting us in the fact of getting people prepared for those positions before they're there.
Yeah. Well, even preparing our current officers and building their confidence so that they have that experience and kind of knowledge set, that leadership skill. Maybe they do that and they start developing that confidence. Hey, maybe I can be assistant chief.
Yeah.
I can do this, It gives them that confidence.
I'm not saying every time, but why not more often?
Yeah, if it's a quote-unquote bread and butter fire, everything's going smooth, I agree with you. I don't think, if you need the hands, I understand there's situations that definitely call for it, but if everything's going smooth, let that senior officer or that chief step back and just watch.
Yeah.
And not take over, but say, hey, maybe just give them pointers.
Yeah.
Hey, why don't you think about doing this? Or what does this look like to you? Just not so much question them or
but give them help.
Yeah, give them help and give them kind of an extra resource to help them command that scene.
Yeah.
Instead of just taking it from them and them not learning anything from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And one of your little note here that, it creates more of a team amongst the fire department, amongst the officers even. If maybe it's your newest officer and he's in charge of a small grass fire, just because you're more of an officer or another officer or chief comes along, don't necessarily pass off IC right away.
Yeah.
Or if you are that senior officer or that chief, don't necessarily take it from him right away. Maybe let him run it for a little while, kind of see what happens. Mm-hmm. If things start going downhill, you can either correct it or take it from him at that point.
Yeah.
But let him learn, let him build that confidence, and get some experience and knowledge under there.
Exactly.
So I definitely agree.
That's exactly where I was going with it. It's just, I see it, the place I see it the most getting utilized is actually at our Nebraska State Fire School in the commercial electrification class. And they deal with doing a lot of the bigger things with semis and buses and stuff like that. And I see them utilizing the IC position more, and it's just one of the firefighters running it. That's perfect. Now can we just translate that over to actually on scene?
Mm-hmm. Well, it also comes down to, now that you're saying that, kind of car accident stuff like that, if you have a multiple vehicle accident, 2, in the rare case here, 3 cars, you can put, basically you have your head IC in charge of the big picture, but then that also gives your officers the confidence to command their own team.
Yeah. So
if you have your chief, and then say you have 2 cars involved, you say, okay, Officer A, you're in charge of this vehicle. Do what needs to be done. Officer B, you're in charge of this vehicle.
And then as an IC...
let me know if you guys need anything.
Yeah, then they can figure out anything else they need to figure out. They don't have to worry about what's happening with the cars or anything because you're taking care of, because the officer is taking care of that. The chief can go, or the IC, whoever's the IC at the time, can go do something else or figure out stuff with EMS or figure out stuff for whoever knows what else is on it. But
and so I guess we're talking more specifically about officers, but like you said at the very beginning, even if that's a firefighter in that position and they're running it good, let that firefighter do it because he is going to be a leader.
Yeah.
And it comes back to the car wreck deal. You know, maybe you only have one officer on scene, but you have 2 firefighters there that have shown leadership potential. Let them run that. You might have to keep a closer eye on them, but let them run that crew.
Yeah. Well, okay, so here's kind of the same lines, but throw a little wrench into it. What if the firefighter has a lot of knowledge on how things need to work, but doesn't have a lot of knowledge on the technical side of getting someone out of the car? That'd be the perfect time for an officer who knows how to do the technical side. Switch spots. The officer can do the technical stuff while the other firefighter, if they have the more knowledge of overall how it works, then that other person can run IC. That's a good use of all of your people to their greatest abilities. Why not utilize it that way? It switches up things, and some people might not like it, but overall, why wouldn't you want to use the person who's better at extrication and extrication call, and have the person who maybe is not the best at doing extrication, but knows how it all flows and how it all works and what needs to be done and when, and is good at that type of thinking and organizing or whatnot and commanding? Switch spots for that call.
Absolutely. And yeah, it just, the whole layout for the command structure is utilized better. If you really pay attention to how, I'm going to say a bad word here, how NIMS works.
Nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, exactly. If you pay attention to how NIMS work, there is so much, not necessarily responsibility, but so much load that's taken off of your chief officer by spreading out that responsibility amongst his other officers and his other firefighters to accomplish that task. So now instead of worrying about, 2 cars that he has to extricate from, he can say, you guys take care of that, and then he can take care of EMS and traffic control and other things that he needs to be worrying about. It's taking a load off his shoulders.
Yeah.
So it just utilizes that command structure better. So now that we've kind of beat that with a dead horse, next solution.
How many episodes ago was that?
I don't know, but I'm going to remember it for a long time.
We're going to have to come up with our own stickers or a shirt or something like that. No, because people would see it and not understand.
Yeah, probably. But the people that listen to us would understand now.
Yeah, but that's not a good thing to put out there in the real world.
We beat things with a dead horse. Yeah, probably not. All right. So yeah, that's definitely one positive thing that we can change to help prepare people coming up and help make our officers that we have better, our leaders that we have better. Our next step or next part of the solution?
So the next thing I think I would like to see is that you require officer training of some sort. So this can either be, either actively on scene, like we just talked about, or an employee management type of class or something. So this is basically what I'm saying is some sort of a leadership class. You want a leadership class. And it doesn't have to be just from the fire service. You can take a leadership class from a business conference or wherever you want to, and it will apply. It will go straight across. You're going to have to interpret and kind of move things around, but overall, leadership is leadership no matter how you look at it. So you can find leadership classes all over the place. One of my favorite places to go, and I'm going to keep plugging it because I really like it a lot, is the Les Luker Conference. They have a lot of leadership classes here lately.
Yeah.
And that's a great place to send people. Even if you have a firefighter who's only been on there 2 or 3 years, go ahead and send them to one of the leadership classes at Les Luker or somewhere else. Why not start training them in being a leader? It's not just going to help them out in the fire service. It's not going to just help them out to become an officer. It's going to help them when they want to have want to work on their personal relationships, whether with their spouses or family in general or friends, it's going to help them in their jobs, in their day jobs. It's so much of a benefit to them to take these leadership classes, not just for the fire service.
I agree. And the reason why I like this as from an officer's perspective is a lot of guys don't want to take that extra time to train.
Yeah.
If I have somebody that wants to be an officer and I say, okay, you need to go take this class, and they take the time and go do that class and learn something and bring something back from it, I know they really want to be an officer. And I know they're going to put their time and effort into being that officer.
If they go and be like, no, I'm not taking that class, I don't got time for that, and I understand, you might not have time for a certain weekend, but if you shut down every opportunity or online class or anything you can take for leadership, should you really be in that spot?
Yeah. I feel officers should be those people that are very in tune with what's going on, and that they should constantly be wanting to learn more, to be better officers.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you have someone, if you require a training to be an officer, not only does it give your firefighters more confidence in that officer because they do have those leadership classes and stuff like that, but as an officer looking at it, I know they actually really want to do that.
Well, I don't know if we want to get into this or not. I'm going to say it here. And if I want to cut it out later, you guys aren't going to hear this, so this will be testament to if it actually stayed in or not. But I know a lot of people from around the fire service who they want to be officers so bad, but they don't have all of those leadership qualities that they need. They have the skills, and they may or may not be able to command, but at the same time, they are not well versed in people skills. So these are important classes for them to take to learn to gain those people skills to be better officers in the long run. I don't know.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's a lot of why we recommend a leadership class is because a lot of leadership classes that I've been through anyway, they lay it out. Hey, this is the qualities you need to be.
Yeah.
Or is highly recommended that you have to be a leader. These are what makes a good leader. And if that person comes back and says, well, I'm great at all of this.
Are they really?
Are you really? Or, maybe they come back and they're honest with you and say, hey, I got, 3 out of the 5. Okay, well, what do you need to work on? Let's find a way to work on those so we can make you a better leader.
I think it's funny just because when I follow people on Instagram, on Facebook, we're going back to the social media a little bit here, but that, from trainings, other things I've gone to, the leaders you see, the people who are teaching, the chiefs you talk to or see on social media, wherever you're getting your information, however you look to the fire service world out there, they all know what they're talking about. They're all knowledgeable, very much so. But if you pay attention, the ones who are good, the ones who make a difference, the ones who you want to know and talk to, they are not arrogant. They are the humblest people you will ever know, and they are not afraid to talk to anybody. What's going on? All right, back from that commercial break. There was an EMS call that Chris had to run and go on, so we may not be picking up exactly where we're at, but we're gonna try to pick it up here. So
close.
Those are the realities of being on a volunteer fire department. You don't know when they're gonna come up. Granted,
so close to getting to use Narcan.
You didn't get to use it?
Nope.
Aw.
We could have, but ours is out of date, and we're waiting for our new shipment to come in. Thankfully, he was still breathing and being just fine, so it wasn't life-threatening by any means. But so close to getting to use it. Anyway.
Only an EMT would get excited about that,
right?
huh?
We were all excited. So close.
So.
All right.
So, yeah, we're going to try to pick up. Because that was like a full half hour or longer that you were gone. So,
Probably.
All right. See if I can get myself back on track here. So basically I was saying how, the leaders that you see, the people that you see at these conferences or trainings or whatever, the people that you follow on social media, they aren't arrogant. They may know a lot and they may teach a lot, but they are not arrogant. They are very, very humble in how they perceive and how they show themselves and how they talk to people. They're willing to talk to anybody. And there are several people I know who may be great officers, but they're lacking that humbleness to it. They still have that arrogance. And it's something that, some of these leadership classes could help them see the bigger picture, that there's more outside of their own department out in the world. It might kind of bring them back down to earth and actually have them be a great fire officer someday.
I agree.
Anyway, so do you have anything else to add to any of that stuff?
No, you covered that one really well.
Okay.
So I'll let you have that one.
All right. Thank you. So I think next, maybe talking about how our volunteer departments run trainings and do they need to change. So when it comes to our trainings, are we training with the older firefighters in mind, those senior firefighters who could be officers, or are we training to the new recruits more often? I think here in our department, I think you're going to agree with me, Chris, we're training to our newer recruits more often than not. We're training to the lower level of firefighter rather than the higher level to get them to advance.
Yeah, we definitely train the basics.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually all we stick to is the basics.
Yeah, so once you get to a certain point in your firefighting career, you're past those basics, what's next? And I think you need to train the basics, and I think you need to train hard on them, yes. But you also need a point where your senior firefighters, yes, they refresh themselves on the basics, and they maybe drill in the basics, but they can get past that, and they can learn other stuff still inside your own department trainings, not having to go outside for those trainings to get better.
Yes, so my perspective on this, I guess, is you train your basics, but you still want to incorporate that preparing the upcoming officer.
Yes.
So one way you can do that is by letting them teach a training.
Oh, it's a great way to do it. It's an easy way, and I mean, I would argue that you could do that even for the more rookie firefighters just to gain confidence in general. But yeah, especially for those senior firefighters or those mid-level firefighters, go ahead and let them run training. That's gonna build their confidence overall.
Yeah, that's gonna help build that leadership skill and that officer skill, that you have guys that you literally have to tell them what to do, how you want it done, and get that officer mentality.
Well, that's how
by leading the groups.
That's how I started getting my confidence. I mean, I was getting confidence by going to outside trainings, but when I officially became part of the training committee, and I actually did I ran a couple of the sections of training for a few of them, that's how I gained my confidence. I mean, it wasn't anything revolutionary that I was teaching to these guys, but those senior firefighters were listening to me. They were following my instruction, and I was under them in the food chain. That boosted my confidence like crazy.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you can get those senior firefighters or those firefighters that know the basics, get them to lead a training, get them to create a training, have them take more of a leadership role in that training, and it's a great way to help prepare them for that upcoming experience of being an officer, if they so choose to do that. So yeah, my perspective on it is, if I were to change trainings from an
Ossifer
from an ossifer perspective, I would change it so that more guys are taking on trainings, getting them that experience of leading people.
Yeah, and so I'd say that's a good way to do it, and I would add to that my thought of changing trainings would be to play out actual scenarios more in trainings and letting those firefighters or other lower officers take those positions of command in the scenarios. And not just with actual scenarios of, let's say you go to a house and you do everything right, but let's say you're even doing something just small in the station. Let's say if you're running a basic rope rescue something, you can have your trainer, your officer, or whoever's doing the actual training, command everything, right? But they stay silent for the run while one of your firefighters or a lower officer takes control of that run through of that whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like if thought that comes in my head with the ball maze, with the extrication ball maze we went over in one of the first couple episodes we recorded. I think it's like 3 or 4 is which episode that's in. Anyways, have one of the firefighters or one of the lower officers take control of that and, explain, have them run it and, have their crew, tell their crew what to do and figure that out, You still have your main person who's running the training, still run the training, but you have those other people run those individual scenarios then.
Yeah, that's a great way of doing it. And I think as far as training goes, it gives them confidence and it builds their experience of leading people.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can change your trainings in any sort of way to help accomplish those 2 goals, I think that is what you need to change. The other thing when you're talking about that, what comes to mind is finding those natural leaders.
Yeah.
Those guys, if they're kind of a natural leader, they're going to be, in my opinion, they're probably going to be a pretty good officer.
Mm-hmm.
And a way you can do that is exactly like you said. If you have that ball maze that we're working on, and you put 5 guys, 6 guys on it, and you say, okay, go for it, but you don't point out who's leading, who's taking the lead on it. You let it just happen and see who comes out taking the lead on it.
That's definitely one way to do it. I think it's a good way of doing it. I think a counter way, I'm going to keep countering you for all these things.
It's fun. There's more than one way to do things. So.
I think another way to do it, another angle, and you don't have to do it every time either way, but you can switch it up every time. But why not pick out somebody that doesn't necessarily have the confidence to be an officer? Even if you don't think they could be an officer, it doesn't matter really what you think. Pick out somebody and make them take that officer position or that leader position. See how they handle it. And don't do it just once and, if they fail, never do that again. Don't do that. Even if they fail, come back to it however many weeks, months later, or whatever. Try it with them again and something else.
Mm-hmm.
Keep pressing it. Because the more and more you do that with them, especially if you don't see them ever as being an officer, you're going to start to see their confidence grow, and they may start showing those officer or those leadership qualities that you didn't see before because they got training at it and they were able to develop those.
Absolutely, yeah.
So.
Just because someone doesn't show it on the first time, don't count them out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, definitely keep circling through guys and trying to really find those either natural leaders or be those people that you can grow into leaders.
Yeah.
If you see a lot of those qualities in someone, but they don't have the confidence, they're not going to display them huge. But if you have the ability to see that kind of in people, those attributes in people, give them multiple chances to do that. I mean, keep working with them and trying to develop that, and they might turn into one heck of a leader. You never know.
Oh my God. Sorry. I thought you were done several points in there. And then I was like, okay. So I don't want to keep bringing stuff back to me, but that's obviously where I have a lot of experiences with myself. But I don't have a lot of those initial leadership qualities that just instantly come off. And it's not just that, but if I get in a group of people with a bunch of different factors to it, but one being the anxiety part and just lack of confidence in general, all of it wrapped up together, it doesn't matter if I know what to do, if I actually have the confidence to do it, but if I don't have that voice over top of somebody else who is very vocal, even if they have no idea what's happening or no idea actually how to run it, I'm not going to speak over that other person. So in an instance like that, where they are so vocal, I am not going to make myself the quote-unquote natural leader in that situation, just because that's not my personality. I'm not going to try to overtake somebody else and something like that. It's just not how I roll. I don't like to disrupt the flow of things,
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't be good in an officer position either. It just means that sometimes I just have more respect than other people do, so I don't want to talk over somebody.
Well, and it's just something you have to do. It's a part of you that you have to develop to be that leader.
Mm-hmm.
So, I totally understand that. So yeah, those are just, I feel like they're fairly simple ways that you can change or adjust your trainings to, help prepare those people for an officer position or a leadership position, and those are ways that you can find possible leaders in your own fire department. I think those are some simple ways to doing that. So
Yeah, I got one more.
okay, go for it.
So I mentioned this I don't know how many episodes back. It was when we talked over the Les Luger conference. So whichever episode that was.
It was the Les Luger episode.
Well, yeah, but I think it's a number. I just can't remember what number it is. Somewhere around like 6 or 8 or somewhere in that realm is where this one is. Anyways, so I talked about in there Brandon Fletcher. I'm going to be referencing him again in this one because he's amazing with his class. But he brought up the idea of having your 5 years from now interview. I thought it was an amazing idea. So, go over this again for any of you who didn't listen to that or if you just need a refresher on it. Basically, you have one of your senior officers. It can be a chief, it can be a president, it can be just a regular officer, it can be anybody, really. You're going to be sitting down and talking with each person on the department. This can be a 5-minute conversation, it can be a half-hour conversation. It doesn't really matter. What you just want to make sure is that you're talking to everybody. And it doesn't matter how long it lasts. So the point of the interview is to see where the other person, where the firefighter wants to be in 5 years. Whether it be a firefighter, an officer, or whoever it is. So if I'm talking to Chris, basically, hey Chris, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And he's going to be telling me, well, I see myself as just being a firefighter, just being here. Or, I see myself having too much of a family, having too much to do and I need to take more time for my family, might not be here anymore. Or in 5 years, I plan on my own business. Or in 5 years, I want to be an officer of some sort. Well, shoot, that's all great news. Whichever way you want to look at it, that's good to know that ahead of time where they think they're going to be in 5 years. Obviously, things change. But if I know that Chris wants to be an officer in 5 years, if I already see him in that officer position, it's great because I know we're on the same track of thinking. I can go ahead and keep preparing him like he already is getting prepared for that job. If I didn't realize that he wanted to be an officer and I never saw him as being the officer type, I can stop, set myself back, think about it, and figure out how to get him there better, how to get them there easier. If you're working with your people, if you're invested in your people and trying to help them get where they wanted to be, it's going to do wonders to your department in general because you will be set up for success for years to come because you are looking for those officers. Now, it's also a time for you as the officer interviewing, so me interviewing Chris, to tell him where I think I see him in 5 years. So maybe he's not thinking about officer. Maybe he just wants to be a firefighter. And I'm just thinking here, you show a lot of these qualities, or I think you could do this. This is where I see you in 5 years. I think you could be an officer. So Chris may not have thought about that before, and he's like, I could do this. This might work. Maybe I should think about it.
It's also your time to present a challenge to people, too.
Yeah.
Because not everyone responds to a challenge, but there are a fair amount of people out there that will respond to that.
I think the majority in the volunteer firefighter service want to respond to a challenge. I think as a volunteer fire service, especially in the rural Midwest community, we don't provide enough challenges for our members.
I agree with that.
And that ends up turning into a lack of dedication and a lack of commitment overall for everything and a lack of pursuit of knowledge and skill. So I think we need to go into that more.
I agree. That's a good idea, and like I kind of mentioned before, I didn't take this class with you, so I'm not sure. But hearing you talk about it sounds like a great idea because
it's so simple.
It puts you and whoever's doing that interview on the same page, and at that point, you can kind of help each other out.
Yeah.
I mean, the officer will help the firefighter, or however you want to state that, I guess, will help that person grow to what they want to be, and at the same time, the officer has a challenge or a chance to help them be where they want to be.
So
it's a working. Basically, it opens up a line of an opportunity for both people.
But it's really good because what if so and so really does not want to move from firefighter? He has no desire, even after you tell him what your thoughts are for him in the future. He doesn't want to be. Well, that's good for you as a chief officer to know that, because then you can stop putting in your brain, putting this plan together for the future of this person being an officer. If they are never going to do that, if they have no desire for it, if nothing you say is going to change that, that can help you, so you're not relying on that, and then that plan doesn't fall apart in the future.
Yeah, you can plan accordingly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're going to have other areas to go look and talk to with other people, so...
For sure.
We can't read minds. A lot of people like to think that everyone knows what's going on and that everyone's mind readers, but they are not.
Yeah, honey. Seriously.
So with that, is there anything else you want to touch up on kind of those little solutions we had for those?
I think that's everything that I kind of had off the top of my head anyway. I know I got interrupted, so I'm not
Back on your game yet?
Fully back on the game yet.
Still thinking about Narcan?
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll leave it at that for now. If we come up with more later, we can do more on it later. But
yeah.
If you guys have any suggestions, by all means, reach out. We are more than happy to share them with everyone or talk to you about them or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Reach out.
I love talking fire.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to message or email or shoot, I'll do phone call conversations. I'll do anything all day. Like, oh man, I live and breathe this stuff, especially right now, so.
Yeah.
So I guess moving on, we'll go on to our last little subject we want to touch on here. So we know volunteer departments run different ways. Even within our own immediate area here, they run differently to each other. So we want to talk about the differences between electing versus appointing officers.
Yeah, so this kind of comes off the topic of preparing, but it also kind of puts into mind that aspect of that people could get thrown in it at any time.
Yeah,
you might be expected to do it at any time.
Exactly. So it really, it really throws in the importance of preparing your officers before they're officers.
There you go. All right, so
electing your officers.
Yeah. So the pros on this is obviously everyone gets a say in who is commanding them.
Yeah.
Who's giving them the orders.
And overall, most people would want to pick someone that they get along with or that they would be willing to follow.
Yeah. So, yeah, if they're going to vote for him, obviously, in theory anyway, they're going to listen to him when it comes to on-scene commands, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the cons in this, yeah, I hear it more often than not, that elections become a popularity contest.
Yeah, you're electing who you like, which can be good, don't get me wrong, but you're not necessarily electing the people who are skilled enough in those areas or who would be good in those areas. So you're possibly electing inadequate people into those positions. People without the experience or people without the knowledge for that.
Yeah. So the next con in there is the chief has basically no say in who's below him. And like we were just saying, if the department elects an officer in there and say you're the chief, in the chief's eyes, doesn't qualify for that position, you're stuck with that till the next elections come around.
Yeah.
As a chief or as a fellow officer. That's one thing you gotta understand is that if they get elected in there, you have to deal with that one form or another until next elections. So obviously that's a con there. And yeah, we kind of already covered this, but the firefighters in your department don't always see what's best for it.
Yeah, they play it as a popularity contest, not necessarily who's best for it. So there's actually a firefighter. He has such good officer qualities. He needs to be an officer. He really does. He's really good, calm, cool, and collected. He knows what to say. He's very good at commanding people in a respectful way. He's got those perfect officer qualities. But people don't like him. So they're not going to vote him in. And it just sucks because he is such a good officer. And that's the job you want him to be. It's not that you like him. That's not the reason he should be in there. He should be in there because he's a good officer, because that's what you need on scene. Mm-hmm. And it just sucks for people like that, and especially for these elected, when you do the elections, because those people who have those skills, who would be great as that, even if they aren't people people, or like they aren't liked by people. I like them a lot, but that's just me. It gets thrown off, and it just sucks for those people because they should be in those positions because they are some of the best for it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we'll move on to appointed positions.
So for the appointing positions, some of the pros. First one is the chief gets to pick who he wants to be there and who is actually a good fit for those positions. So he gets to build a team of people that he wants. And this could be several different strategies going to building this team. Maybe he wants a certain way for the department to move forward. So he's going to be electing or putting officers in those positions for a specific team dynamic to lead the department in a certain way. So that's good. And then at the same time, the chief's going to be able, he's been there for a long enough time, he's going to know more of the ins and outs of every person there on the fire department to know their good qualities, their bad qualities, their strengths and weaknesses, everything with it, to know what to outweigh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of pros with this because, like you said, you can set up a certain team. Say, for instance, trainings aren't necessarily happening the way you want it to. Maybe guys aren't working quite as hard. Well, if you create a team of officers that's really hardworking, go-getter, people want to be involved, and when you have training, those officers are the first guys out there.
Yeah.
They're going to lead your guys, your other firefighters, to be that harder working, that wanting to learn more people. They're going to lead by that example. So you can set a team up like that. You know, if you see that's the weakness in your department, you can fight it.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a huge pro there. And again, I'm just reiterating here, the experience and the knowledge. As a fire chief, if you're new to the fire chief position, you may not quite have it, but if you've been doing it for a little while, you should have a pretty good understanding of the guys that are on your department and the different qualities they have and experiences that they have and knowledge that they have that you can create that team that you want. So, the cons with this one.
So, definitely one of the biggest cons that I've seen is a person who really wants an officership of any sort, whether it be safety or captain or anything, may never be an officer if they are not in good graces or not popular enough for the chief to want them in there.
Yeah.
Or not in that inner circle.
Right. And no department should run that way. Don't get me wrong. No department should have a friend circle or the chief circle or whatever. But this kind of comes back to that 5-year, that 5-minute interview that you were talking about. If, as a chief, you sit down with a guy and you know if he wants to be an officer, at least that's in your mind.
Yeah.
And, you know, someone who wants to be an officer but never gets a chance, if you, as a chief or an officer, sit down and have that interview and you know they want to be there, that will eliminate that problem.
Well, it will, it won't, because you might still not like the person or still not think they're good for that. Even if you think they're not good for that, why don't you take the interest in your guys and help them work through things that could get them there?
Yeah.
You know.
Help develop them.
Exactly.
Into that person that you want. But,
exactly.
Yeah. So, this can be a con, but it can be countered.
Yeah.
With that interview is a good way of looking at it. So, but yeah, I see that happen too. You know, that's
what we got.
That's about what we got for tonight. So, sorry about the craziness in the middle there. I got sidetracked and gone and back and trying to get back on track. So, anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. And
yeah, I really liked the conversation.
Yeah, reach out to us if you guys got any questions. We love talking to you guys.
Yeah.
And happy to do it anytime. So.
I mean, if you want to specify Chris or me to talk to, that's fine. But maybe you enjoy his conversating a little better than mine. I'm not sure. Maybe you really like hearing me talk. So, you know, I don't know.
Reach out. We will talk to you. And
but you know, if it's on Facebook or Instagram, it's totally me.
Yeah, I'm not the social media platform man for sure. So.
I do reference him back on important stuff though. So if you really got a question for him, you want to reach out to us on social media, and that's what you know. go ahead and do it, especially if it's something if it's specifically for him or for both of us. We talk about everything, but
absolutely. So.
I'm just playing with him a little bit here.
Yeah, if you guys have anything you want us to talk about, we still got more in the bag here, but if you guys got things that are coming up in your department that you need answers for, or just something you want talked about on here, hit us up for sure. So.
Yeah, we can't guarantee a certain date things are going to go out, but we'll try to get it out there as soon as you give us those questions, and as soon as we can with that. So
we should do a Q&A podcast.
We need more Q's so we can give A's.
All right, so yeah, we'll put together a Q&A podcast.
If we get Q's.
If you guys give us Q's, then we will give you A's. So that'd be a really fun podcast, I think.
I think it would be.
It'd be a long one, but
yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Hope you enjoy the rest of the day, rest of the night, whatever time you're listening to us.
And we'll see you in the next one.
Have a good night. Thank you for listening to our podcast. We hope you enjoyed it.
Be sure to leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening to us.
Find us on Facebook and Instagram @Couplingsfire Podcast.
See you next time.